like to call the September 5th, 2023 bid board to order. We have acknowledgement of a quorum. Actually, everybody is here. First item of business is approval of minutes from August 1st.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 1, the financial report. Jess.
All right, so the financial report is just on the third page or so of your agenda right now. And, you know, the main changes we do have, I just want to make a note on the marketing expenses. We've had an additional $4,500 that have been spent toward marketing as well from the Downtown Association and from the Communications Department of the City of West Bend. So that's not necessarily reflected in that actual cost there. Other than that, the lights encumbrance is the biggest one. The $35,000 that you approved last month. And then we can talk a little bit more about the lights and decorations in our upcoming agenda topic here. So that's coming. Otherwise, things are pretty much as is here. Facade is still encumbered, but it looks like we may have some work that may be done on that awarded project. So more information to come there. Any questions?
We have a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, operating plan. So Jay and Jess brought this to me and to Peggy, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And at initial glance, I'm like, yeah, okay, it is what it is. Wow, property values really went up. As I think about it more, and I look at my building and I look at other buildings across this and some of the increases, and I think about typically what happens with a reevaluation on a city budget, and I'm not a city budget person, but I think it makes kind of some sense that typically the mill rate will drop to not raise taxes 30%. And so a little history, when the bid started, we were at $4 a thousand. In 2009, when the economy went down south, it was lowered to $3. And I look at what all the businesses and building owners have gone through with COVID, what we're going through with the reconstruction downtown. Historically, we've lived on $115,000 budget. I propose we lower this to $2 a thousand and work within our means of the 117. If we raise it to this, I guarantee you rents are going to go up in buildings. And I don't feel right about that. I don't think it's the right thing to do to the building owners and the businesses that are down there. But that's my opinion. I'll open it up to everybody else. And then this is an open forum, so anybody that's here has just let me know and you can come up and speak as well.
Was that a formal proposal that requires a second?
I'll let you make the, well, yeah.
Well, my motion is to move it to $2 a thousand. That's still a 13% increase from the year before, which is well above inflation. A 67% increase is, nobody can justify that to me. There's just no reason for it. We have run a great budget all these years. I've been on this board since 2014. We've now allocated literally 100% of our future funds budget to the Riverwalk and the downtown. We've been very generous with all our money. We seem to be able to handle a great budget with this $103,000, which would now go to $116,000. $173,000 a year on the backs of business owners and building owners that have suffered through this construction project. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know where this came from or how it could even be justifiable to present. That's how upset I am. So my proposal is $2 a thousand, and that is still a 13% increase from the year before. That's reasonable, in my opinion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other comments? The other thing, go ahead.
I do just have one question,
Pull your mic down.
it's just, it depends too on these reassessments, how solid they are, and I'm sure that some people are gonna challenge them. And I think that that's gonna affect, what the bottom line ends up being anyhow. I don't know how effective that challenge would be, but I don't have a problem with not going all the way to $173,000. It might end up that to make things actually work, we might have to be $2.50, but I don't know if we've got enough information today to actually vote on this.
Then I would amend my proposal to be a maximum of 115,000, and we do the reverse math once we have all the assessments finalized. We don't need more than 115,000. Do I have a second?
I'm comfortable with that.
Well, first off, we have a motion and a second, so if we have to have the motion and second rescind.
Okay,
And then you
I thought
can
I
amend.
amended it, so I'm
Well,
sorry.
as long as he approves your amendment, then you're okay. Okay. The other thing that I would suggest is in the landscaping, whatever that budget ends up to be, I know that Claire Rolfs was here, and that group is looking at landscaping as well, and Grave is doing, my understanding is Grave is doing a landscaping plan. I wouldn't specifically spell out what each one of these items are in the budget until that plan is done, and then figure out how much money wants to be given to that.
Question.
Go ahead.
Is there context on how the calculations went from one year to the next as far as some of the assessments?
Well, the assessments, the assessor's office does that every 5 years, so,
Okay.
and we can have, anyone who has a question about their specific property can absolutely reach out to the assessor's office and ask about it and anything they want there. Some context on the operating plan, though, we updated it to reflect what you have set in the past. So the $3 per 1,000 is what you've done the last number of years, many years. So that's how the number was brought here today and was reviewed, in advance of the meeting.
But it was a fixed amount for 5 years, and this assessment increase is significant, so it does dramatically change the budget, and I just think it's too much.
And then what has been our, and forgive me because I'm relatively newer to the board, what's been our average annual budget
100,
115
anywhere from 100 to 115
for the past 5 years?
for the past, since I've been on the board.
Longer than
When
that.
I got on, it was 90.
Okay.
It's been the case since 14, since I've been here.
And I guess through that, we've been able to give 300,
1,000.
yeah, more than that, to, just to the river, to the Riverwalk, and the Main Street reconstruction, plus do the benches, plus do the original decorations, plus paint the light poles,
Remove the bridge.
remove the bridge. So there's been a lot of stuff that we've been able to do with that budget.
And we've taken on a lot of landscaping expenses that the city used to cover.
Sure. So let's just, devil's advocate here, play the opposite side. Let's say another 5 years, things go down. Are we still going to play the same card, which is, hey, as long as we have 115, 120, we're fine. And whatever the mill rate needs to be, the mill rate needs to be if assessments go down?
Discuss it every year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an annual
Okay.
discussion. The other thing is the bid has the ability to do you could do a raise. Like if all of a sudden there's a project the bid wanted to do, you could raise it specifically for that project. The city could do a bonding issue against that raise because it's a guarantee. And then once that was paid off, then you could, sunset the raise. We've talked about that, but we've never had to do that for any projects.
And the budget does include 10 grand a year for future projects. We always can tap into that. Plus, we've reallocated different portions of the budget, like this last year. I'm the one that proposed the entire 20 grand marketing budget should be used for the reconstruction, signage, all those things. They've done a great job. So we can reallocate that budget too, because there is excess in it. It's been proven every year I've been on this board. We've reallocated money.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm
You bet.
comfortable.
Is there any conversation from the audience? Come on, if you want to come up to the microphone, just let us know who you are and what building you're associated with downtown.
My name is Lisa Pence. I'm representing WHHF LLC, which is Epic Creative across from the library. So the main reason for coming was because I looked at it, and it's a 39% increase in what our portion of the bid money would have been. So I'm glad that you started out talking about how high it went and possibly reducing it. We really, being outside of downtown, but still within the bid, a lot of the things that this organization is doing is great downtown. We don't get a lot of benefit from it. We're not a retail business. We're an advertising agency. We've helped out quite a bit with the downtown, the Riverwalk, and other things. So like I said, one of the things was the rate, and I was glad to hear that you're considering lowering it. The other thing I was wondering is, we've got technically 4 different properties. One is a empty lot. It's just grass. It's between 2 houses, which has been included in this district. Is there any way we could exclude that? The other one is part of a parking lot with a garage and a parking lot, and then our building and our parking lot. And then I'm trying to just learn a little bit more about all the different things you do to see where maybe it could benefit Epic. But if it's not, it's a hard time to look at a rate increase when a lot of the stuff you do not benefit. The one thing that I would say we do benefit from is very minor. We do go get plants every spring and try to decorate a little bit and put some flowers out in front of our sign.
So the only properties that are excluded from this assessment would be residential and nonprofit. And the nonprofits have to file an exemption by a certain deadline to be exempted out of it. But by statute, any commercial property within the boundaries of this district are subject to the assessment. So there's no way that we can individually take out a piece of property. And the third one is any city-owned property.
Okay. That's what I assumed, but it was worth coming to ask and see if there's anything. If the assessment is actually that much higher, I think we'll just have to move forward and look at selling the lot like we've been thinking about doing. So, all right, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Okay, so any further discussion? We have a motion and a second.
I do have a question. Did you say that there's possible monies available from an outside group to actually do some landscaping?
There is conversation of them giving money. I don't know what they're doing. Jay or Jess could answer that question better because I know they've been meeting with them. But I know that the group that Claire Ralphs was here representing has an interest in potentially giving money towards landscaping downtown.
Okay, but there's nothing definite.
That's
No, I don't
correct.
think anything's
Yeah,
definite.
there's been nothing committed to date, dollars-wise.
No plan, no
There's a group that
monies.
is
Okay.
funding the downtown master plan project right now, and it's in the planning phase of that. But
All right.
I'm just saying whatever this group does with the money should tie in with whatever they're recommending through that landscape budget instead of us going rogue and doing our own thing and then, potentially hindering the potential of them giving money.
I do have some questions. So this is a significant change, so it will affect our 2024 project lineup. That's within the operating plan. So if it was the $2 per 1,000, we're looking at 115, 568.20 if none of the assessments change and everything is as is. So we'll need to make some adjustments here. Are you recommending then taking down landscaping and marketing to make up for that amount? Or how would you like that to be broken down?
Well, we had ongoing maintenance of the downtown of 20 grand. That was in the regular budget. So where did that go? It's in here at 85, but that was in our prior budget. So we're really talking about $65,000 of spending that I had no knowledge of, and I was hoping within a $4+ million budget, some planters could be covered by that budget, not our tax dollars. So what do we have to adjust? If this other group comes to the table with $65,000, we don't have an issue. But we don't know that at this point. So I say we still maintain what we did before, which is 20 grand more than we used to absorb when I first came to this board. So at this point, it's up in the air until we know the assessments and what this other group will bring to the table. Does the city plan a 67% increase in their budget? I'm just a financial guy, so forgive me for my conservativeness.
Good morning, everyone. I'll share a little information regarding the assessment and the reval process. And if you were to call the assessor's office and talk to Jeff Yoder, our city assessor, you would hear a similar message. So if your tax, first of all, I'll start with the average property reval or assessment is going up 50%. So residential and commercial property as a whole in the city of West Bend is going up 50%. We are required to do an entire citywide revaluation every time we dip below 90, and we've done that in a big way in the last couple of years. So Jeff and his team have been preparing for this revaluation. The last one, as was previously mentioned, was done in 2018, and the market has been pretty excitable since then. And a couple of your comments or questions about property values downtown, that's what Jeff looks at to assess your properties and the properties in the bid district. And there are sales that have taken place in the last year that are obviously public and well-known that have gone up in a big way. So if your personal property tax, your property assessment went up 0 to 30-ish%, you could expect a tax leveling or no increase. If your property assessment went up, your reval went up 30-ish or 35 to 50%, because the average is 50% of an increase, you could expect a modest increase or maybe a flat, depending on where the tax rate came in. If you went up more than 50%, if your property revaluation, your assessment went up greater than 50%, you will likely see a tax increase for the next year's taxes. That's just how it works. The rate's going to plummet based on the amount of levy that's needed to continue operations for the city for 2024. No, there will not be a 37% increase in levy or in the rate. The rate will, as I mentioned, plummet. It will definitely be lower than the number that we have, 834 for this year. It will be something less than that. What that is, we don't know yet. We're still creating the 2024 budget and working through that process. As far as the issue at hand, your motion proposal to move down to $2 is perfectly fine. You guys can set that however you desire for the number for the next year. However, Jess's point needs to be addressed too. You need to set those valuations are real. So if one or two is challenged through the Board of Review process and a slight modification is made to an individual property, that's a different issue than what you're dealing with today. Today you're dealing with recommending the 2024 budget based on a value that you set, which if it's $2, that's great, but then you need to set the budget accordingly based on your revenue at hand.
Which
so
I said
yes, that
115.
means gutting the landscaping or however you do it, that's perfectly fine. The other factor of what's going to happen with the private sector group that is leading the strategic plan, that won't be known in the next month, that won't be known in the next couple of months. That is a future kind of discussion that we'll continue to have with them and keep you guys posted.
I just want to repeat, a 67% increase isn't coming from the city budget, I would assume. So the levy is going to probably remain just slightly higher. Do you have any idea of a percentage increase in what the city's budget
I don't.
Just a wild guess?
No, I don't have a swag. No, not at all.
Because my proposal is a 13% increase in the bid budget, which seems reasonable, for sure, from an inflationary standpoint.
Yeah, we're definitely facing inflation at the city. The levy will go up, that's for sure. The rate will go down. Those are the two things
Sure.
that we know at this
So
time.
we should do the same.
Again, I'm not
I'm not
proposing.
I'm just looking at you. I'm speaking to everybody.
It's totally your budget. I'm just saying that if you do that, when you set it at $1.15 or $2, you have to set the expenses
Yeah, we get
accordingly.
that. Yeah, we do.
So-
But realize that that extra 60-some thousand was going to cover these one-time items.
Stuff, yep.
We're not going to put in planters for 40 grand every year. So we obviously have to figure that out.
Yep.
Did anyone else realize we were going to be hit for another 40 grand for planters? I was in all those meetings. I didn't catch that we weren't getting that covered by the budget.
I think it popped up between the last meeting and now,
Well,
actually.
that's a lot of pop-up,
Yeah.
I guess.
So
We can
what
figure that out.
you, to address Jess's question is you could take out a landscaping. The other thing, which I hesitate to do, but you could, if you look at what raised, the facade went up 5,000 and landscaping went up. I hesitate to take away from the facade because that's a direct thing to the building owners. But I'm not opposed to it. So you could lower your landscaping back down. So we'd have to take it down, 173 to 1.
You have to cut it by 57, 784, 10 right now.
So take your landscaping down.
To what it was last year?
Well, no, if you take it down, that doesn't encompass your 13% increase. So, or 16%, whatever you calculated out. So, if you take your landscaping budget down that 57,000 and leave the facade at 30, you're where you're at. Or take it down 55,000, and then, like you said, make it contingent on the 115 or whatever we come up with for a number, and have that be the per thousand rate based on what this finally ends up with after the book closes. This isn't going to change radically. There's going to be people that are going to contest it, but it's not going to change.
No, not much.
No.
Not from my experience in meeting.
So
I just want to make it clear, too, I'm a big fan of the landscaping. If you remember, I was the weed guy that took over 100 photographs my first year on this board of my shock at the condition of downtown and proposed that we start a landscaping budget, which has worked out. And interestingly, it's created the cleanup day. It's motivated building owners to take some responsibility and make the city look much nicer. So I'm the last guy that wants to cut that budget. But this is extraordinary to me.
So if you take landscaping down to 28,000, that should get, if I'm doing the math, I'm doing round numbers, so I don't know the exact.
I just did some quick math. A couple of the items here can't really be changed, like administrative costs we could change slightly, but audit, electricity, they kind of need to stay. I brought down the contingency to 1568, then landscaping down to 30, marketing 15, facade 30, holiday 20, future funds 10 to get 15,568. And we could add the 10 cents to contingency.
Does that get us to 115?
It gets us to the $2. So the two different motions that you have, one of them was maxing it at 115, which may cause it to be a little more challenging because right now if you do a full across the slate equal for everyone at $2 per thousand, you'd be just slightly over 115. 115, 568, 10 is what I'm getting. Or 20. So that brings us there.
Which is still a 13% increase.
Yep.
So, and that's at $2 a thousand.
Yep, that's at $2.
I have a quick question on the adopt-a plots, though. If that's $3,000 right there, isn't adopt a plot like I'm saying Peggy Fisher would adopt a plot? So why is that in? Why is that in? Like, why is that
Great question.
included?
Great question.
So those adopt-a-plot, and that's a draft of what we think we could do in that area. The adopt-a-plot money goes toward purchasing the flowers for those beds and any materials that they need. So you might adopt it and take care of it for the summer, but the bid has historically still paid for the materials. And we've also paid for the baskets which we've looked to kind of redo in here, but this will all need to change in this lower section here. Just take it out for now and maybe readjust it.
I think if you adopt the cost. I mean, I pay for the entire Veterans Park. I pay for all the landscaping in front of my building. I've adopted the whole south side, including water usage. I don't understand why we can't ask a person to cover the cost of maintenance plus plants. Great point, Peggy. We should probably pull that $3,000 out.
Well, I agree with what Jess is saying, is take this whole A, B, C, D, E out.
Yep.
Have the landscape dollars there at 30. And then I would suggest you leave it, just for ease of calculation, leave it at $2 a thousand, and what it comes in at, it comes in at.
That's fine.
It may be 115, maybe 114, maybe 118, but leave it at $2 a thousand. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with $2.05
Yeah.
or $1.98.
I agree, but somebody made the point, so I said, let's
Yeah,
cap
no.
it.
Yep.
But I'm
And then-
okay with $2.
The only other question I have is on actually like holiday expenditures. We put 20 in there. We've been putting 20 in there, but it consistently is costing us more. We have our next agenda item is the install cost, and it took me quite a bit of time to talk him down by $2,000 on the increased cost that it is to put up the decorations every year. It came in at over $10,000 just to install for the David J. Frank estimate, and he brought it down a bit, but we are definitely spending over $2,000 every year just on install and de-install each year. So maybe bumping that up and adjusting instead of, I'm not sure where to take it out of, maybe out of future funds or,
That's the best place to take it from.
take 5,000 and put it in there, and that might cut it.
And what's the dollar value that you're saying, Jess?
So the dollar value, I would say, is coming in pretty much right at 20 each year, with right now,
I mean, how much more than we had allocated?
$5,000 more for holiday and 5,000 less for another area.
And Mike, your group has been incredibly generous with downtown and holidays. Is there any discussion there of that
Yeah, and that's going to
increasing?
be discussed.
Okay.
Otherwise, we could take it out of facade too, because that's the only other one that increased
Well,
here.
and the other thing is, Jess, I've talked to you about this before, is I really believe there's people out there, citizens, business owners, that would not have an issue doing a donation to a Christmas decoration fund.
Sure.
That I really think the bid should start something. I don't know how, and I don't know how that works, but I think that there should be some kind of a avenue for people to make donations to the Christmas decorations annually. I don't, it benefits everybody, there's no doubt, but I also know that there's people who would give money. They've come and talked to me about it, but then I never go out and specifically say, hey, do you want to give money to this?
Sure.
But if there was a fund like the revolving loan fund or whatever, that's there that can be advertised, I think people would consider giving money to it that we don't even know who they are.
Great idea.
But I'm not opposed to taking some out of if you want to take some out of the facade, or you could take some out of the future projects too and put it in there for now.
At least we have the room between the two to maybe even split it. Does that have to?
Or leave it
be
as it
decided
is, and
today?
you always have money
It
you can
does.
take out of the future projects.
Well, then let's just split it between the two. It's $5,000. Split it between the two for now. We can always amend it later.
Right.
I got a process question.
Great.
So assuming we adjust the, assess the mill rate, then the operating plan needs a whole new set of signatures? How does that
No.
work? Oh, no, it doesn't?
Now, the signatures that you signed were for the change to the bylaws, where we changed the terms and all that.
Sure.
That had nothing to do with this. This just
Okay.
that happened to be in it.
Attached. Yeah.
Okay. got
But
it.
this is the approval. That's a
So-
one-time until you change those bylaws again, then then the board has to sign it.
Just want to make sure that was clear for everyone.
Thanks.
Oops.
Any further discussion? If not,
Does a motion have to be made?
he already made.
But
Let's
to
clarify.
accept-
Let's clarify the motion.
My motion is for $2 per thousand assessment for our bid budget,
And
regardless of the assessment settling. It's $2.
then we need Wes to agree to rescind your,
Agree to rescind.
and then or re-second.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is David J. Frank installation contract for the Christmas decorations.
All right. So in your agenda packet, it's page 34. I worked with Chadwick on this. Like I mentioned, he did bring it down to $2,000 from where it originally came in after looking at a few of the areas there and just kind of taking down some expenses. So it's coming in at the $8,296 mark for install starting on October 30th and in preparation for October 2nd tree lighting. This includes the supernovas and garland and Pocket Park and wrapping some lights around the trees in Pocket Park as well as in Old Settlers Park, and then also installing our large Christmas tree. This doesn't include the installation of the new Christmas decorations that we just purchased that will rely on our city team and volunteers and hopefully this board to assist with that as well.
What was the significant change from the prior year's install? Was there any significant?
So let's have a motion and a second, then we can discuss it.
So moved.
I have a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
We have a motion on the table, so now any discussion? Now you can discuss, Tony.
I just wanted to know what was the significant change in the install? Did we add stuff?
The tree was the largest expense in install cost since we added an additional section of tree. The amount of cost that went up was a lot. So he ended up taking out little bits from kind of every area to minimize their hours and try to get it to come down. But that was the biggest change last year and change in expense.
Okay, and you said that went up about $5,000 from the year before?
Well, not the
total?
install now. It had been coming in higher, and now he took it down a bit.
Okay.
But yes.
Any other discussion?
Everything said and done with the Christmas tree install is $8,296.
Everything. So,
Everything,
yep,
yeah.
the $8,296 covers all of it. Old Settlers Park, the tree, and Pocket Park.
I'm
And
sorry to
it-
keep asking this. Do you remember what we paid last year?
Sure, I can pull it
I
up.
appreciate that.
Yep. No worries.
Now, we're not adding to the tree this year, correct? That's from,
No, this is the last year.
Correct.
As I
Yeah,
understand
so-
it, this is the last year that we add a section to the tree, Mike.
Good question.
Last year, we added sections to
yeah,
the tree.
last year.
We're not adding anymore?
Not this year. I won't say you won't add any more, but
There's rules of how close you can get to the moon?
yeah.
So this year's cost is just slightly higher now. It was $8,340. The original agreement that came in was mainly the tree that had gone up, so he went back down to match last year's price for this year. We had also removed some of the expenses and started taking them upon ourselves to put up, like the holiday sleigh is a pretty simple thing to set up, when we were paying previously $1,300 for it.
Yeah, sure.
So it is expensive, and but it does take effort. So, I don't want to take on more than what we can chew.
I think that's awesome, and everybody's part is awesome on their part, and whoever stepped up, that's fantastic. So basically, it's about the same.
Yeah, just
Okay.
went up slightly for this year.
Any other discussion?
Do we own the tree or do we rent it?
We
every
own the
year?
tree.
We own the tree, okay. So there's no cost of that every
Yep.
year?
We own it. It's all stored at the sewer utility.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the 2023 holiday or Christmas decoration purchase.
Awesome. I just have a quick update, and within your packet, you'll see what we've purchased. So last meeting, the board approved spending it up to $35,000 on new holiday decorations, and then thankfully, generous donors from the community came forward and essentially matched, and even more so, matched that gift with a gift to purchase the rest. So in order to put up the 3-foot side-mounted wreaths all throughout the downtown, it was an additional expense, and we're going to be able to do 150 of those. It's going to look really fantastic. Also, we're able to purchase some garland swag, lit swag with the nicer C7 warm light bulbs and the big vinyl bows as well for the bridges. And then also a 16-foot ornament, like a walkthrough. So if you're on the second page of that visual, you can see it's sort of a warm light, 3-dimensional 16-foot ornament for people to come and take photos in, and that will be set up in Old Settlers Park. And so I just want to say thank you to the donors for stepping up and allowing us to have a really spectacular holiday season and kind of showing off the downtown Main Street project in this way.
Jess, it indicates on the thing that it's located in Pocket Park.
Yep. Oh, did I say Old Settlers Park?
You
I
said
meant
Old
Pocket
Settlers.
Park.
I thought it was Pocket.
West Pocket Park is where that is planned.
Any questions?
Great.
Okay, let's go to Main Street project update.
Really just want to take the opportunity to let everybody know that the project remains on schedule. We're continuing to do the calls every Wednesday and emails every Wednesday. So if there's anything that comes up throughout the week, feel free to chime in there or go on the project website, check out the timeline that's there, the maps. We have the landscaping maps, the plans. Take a look at that and feel free to always contact the contractors out there. And they seem really willing to work with you. So, if there's anything that comes up, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Would it be possible to, and I noticed this on Saturday and then thought back on it, since the underground crew left us, the really good crew, there hasn't been a water truck, and Saturday with the wind, it was like a dust storm down there.
Sure.
So if they could do like they were in the past, they were like once a week or even twice a week, depending upon, they were watering it, and I don't think that's been done for at least a month or more.
Yeah, sure. I'll bring it up.
So if we could potentially get that taken care of, that would be great.
Is there a map on that website that explains where the additional parking is going to be? Because when I look at it, because I think that originally it said there were going to be 34 additional spots, but when I see like the outline of where the concrete is, like I'm trying to figure out where, because I thought we were taking out bump outs for a reason, and it looks like they're back.
Well, the bump outs went this way.
Okay.
Okay, and that's where we got parking. So some of the parking is right in front of your building, in front of Centrum.
It's like right on Hickory, it goes way out and in front of Tenny's.
Right, but they went in this way. There was more added in along my side and the other side. There is a map out there. I think what's playing with all of our heads is the bump outs went this way, but they also went this way.
Mm-hmm.
So they got bigger out, but they shrunk in, which added the parking.
It also is challenging right now to kind of sometimes visualize how different it really is, because if you look at the site plans online, so there is the Main Street landing page and the exhibits are on there, and you can see there's like a blue and red sort of overlay of the previous curbs and parking, and then there's the blue one is the new one, and you'll kind of see like the variances there, and some of the reconfigurations, mainly at Hickory there, or not Hickory, at Cedar down by Wes's space, just to kind of make that a safer intersection with only 2 instead of 3 sort of diagonal crossings. But that map will really help show you the different parking spaces and bump outs.
If I remember right, the number is 32 during the day and 37 at night, because in front of my building, that loading zone becomes 5 parking stalls at night.
Got it.
One thing to remember too is some of the bump outs, as you're calling them, are there for pedestrian safety, and they're also there so that people making some of these turns into Main Street aren't gonna take out cars that are parked in those new spaces closer to the corner. So they still remain, but they're not as
The one question I had about,
spurious as they used to be.
for the bump outs, down Cedar Street, are we still allowing semi-trucks to go downtown for drop-offs for beer and liquor and all that? Because the bump out on Cedar Street is my one concern, how far out it is. There's, in my mind, and a lot of people were talking about it, there's no way a semi-truck can make that turn without riding over the bump out. So if there's somebody that, like, you know, I can call them to get them out there to kind of assess before the electrical pole goes in and all that. I thought that was pretty far out there for bigger trucks to take a turn.
Thanks, I'll bring it up to him.
Any other questions on? Next item is 2024, God, who would have thought 2024 is here already? Meeting dates.
Right, the meeting dates are included here. There are a few that have a note on them, just mainly for elections and holidays. So we usually need to move to a different location or push it out a week. So that's what it looks like so far. We're always the first Tuesday of the month in council chambers. Otherwise, 8:15 a.m.
Do we need to take any action on this?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Many times we do in a prior meeting, so we can look at that later.
Well, the biggest thing, looking at this, I think all we're doing is moving locations, right? So,
Yep, that's right. You guys had one meeting at the high school administration office this year. It seemed to go pretty well as a good backup. We can also film it, so I guess I'd look to do that in the future as well.
So we're talking 2024, we will not be here? We'll be
no, we'll
somewhere
be
else?
here.
No,
The
only
only time we
meetings,
change
yeah.
is elections.
Oh,
The election days, we got to move. And we can't push off a week because the next week is municipal court here. So it's better to just move the meeting location.
okay.
Okay, as always, if,
Good question on July 7th or July
Second.
2nd. Is that asterisk because we might move it due to the holiday or?
It is, yep. You may or may not do that at that time. That's all.
usually we end up canceling that meeting. So, unless there's something urgent that needs to be addressed. So with that, there's any agenda items you want for the next meeting, bring them to Jess or myself. And if there's no other business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.